Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. In this update, we've seen some pretty pleasant light conditions for a good part of the central and eastern two-thirds of the U.S. so far during the month of September. Some of these areas have seen an early taste of fall, and even a couple mornings they woke up with some record low temperatures. But it's been completely the opposite if you live out west. They've been under that heat dome for an extended period of time, and many triple-digit temperatures are still unfolding. But all that looks to change as we head into over the next 7 days, as a pretty significant trough will be diving in out west, and those areas out into the central and eastern two-thirds of the U.S. are going to be warming up in a big way. So if we take a look at the overall surface map, we've seen Francine make landfall down there towards New Orleans yesterday. Now that is creeping northward into Mississippi this afternoon. It will continue to wring out the precipitation. It has been downgraded to a tropical depression, and we'll be watching another area of disturbed weather right off the Carolina coast as well. We also have another storm out in the Pacific that will be affecting Cabo San Lucas, and that could actually spread some precipitation into Mexico and even some cloud cover in portions of West Texas. So if we take a look at the tropics, here's where we stand. Right now, we are in peak season. This is typically our busiest time of year. In fact, we average 7 named storms just in the month of September. We've only had one, right? So that was Francine right now, that has now been downgraded to a tropical depression. And here is tropical depression number 7, which will likely be taking the name Gordon. And then we also have 2 other spots down here towards the Windward Islands. We have another area of disturbed weather right off the coast of the Carolinas that is closer to land and looks to be making a little bit more impact as we get over the next couple of days. So if we take a look at the overall ensembles, kind of looks like this, right? This is the next 5 or 6 days. You can see what Gordon does. It really doesn't do much, right? This is well out there in the Atlantic, several thousands of miles away from the East Coast. So this would likely be our first kind of fish storm of the season. We have this other area of disturbed weather, but that's also looking out to go out in the open waters. It's just these areas of low pressure right off the Carolina coast that looks to bringing more precipitation and combining with the remnants of Francine and leaving more heavy rain for those areas and portions of the southeast and the Carolina coast over the coming days. So if we take a look at the big setup over this weekend, kind of looks like this, right? So we have that trough finally putting the heat into the heat wave with this cooler pocket aloft coming in, sinking down to the surface, really cooling those temperatures off in a big way. But you rapidly warm up in a big way across the central portions of the U.S. Some of these temperatures are going to be elevated. You could even see some triple-digit temperatures in portions of Texas and Oklahoma this weekend. And under that rain-cooled air, you're still going to be on the cooler side and definitely the wetter side for a good part of the southeast and a good part of the Carolinas up into Virginia. So if we look at the overall, satellite picture going into this weekend, you can see the dry slot. So most of this misses out on a good part of the Ohio Valley, and as much as the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, you continue to remain on the drier side. Here's the wet slot underneath the remnants of what was Francine, and then kind of the low pressure center that's just kind of meandering off the Carolina coast. That is going to merge with this activity and continue to remain on the wetter side. Those areas across Missouri into western Tennessee, northern portions of Mississippi and Alabama, getting into Georgia, especially into the Carolinas. You've got the dry slot coming into the desert Southwest and a good part of Texas. And then you have that more significant trough that will be diving in off the West Coast. That's going to bring down those temperatures and bring a little bit more pleasant light conditions for those areas. And no one's going to be missing the heat wave out there, because it's been extended for a good part of the last couple of weeks, while much of the central U.S. has been experienced kind of an early taste of fall. Now you got summer 2.0 coming back with a vengeance, as those 10, 15 degree above average anomalies extend well north all the way to the Canadian border, getting into the upper Great Lakes, a good part of the Northeast where you're going to continue to remain on the drier side. Where you are below average is where under the cloud cover and just the rainy, soupy air mass that you're in. And then with the trough coming in, pretty subtle in the beginning this weekend, but it's really going to take a shape as we head into early next week, as that much more significant trough comes in and really dips down pretty far south. So now, you know, this is going into September 16th. So typically what happens is, you know, once we hit into that second half of September, this is, you know, right at second storm season. This is typically where you would possibly looking at more probabilities of elevated severe weather. And I think that's exactly what's going to unfold as we have a bigger trough that will be coming in out west. Those temperatures really elevate across the central US, and that always spells trouble as the dry line will start to get active again. And yes, we'll be talking about severe storms as we head into, I think, by Tuesday, because here's the overall setup. Those temperatures really drop. I think by then you're going to be ending the triple-digit heat wave that's been extending for months across the Phoenix area. You finally dip in the 90s, and I think you actually stay there for a good while, right? I mean, you got a pretty significant cool down coming in for California, Nevada, getting into Idaho, Utah, those areas across Arizona, as that dry line will be getting active in West Texas, eastern Colorado, back into western Nebraska. And then you still got that cooler anomalies with the just more unsettled light conditions, with the combination of the remnants and the combination of the low pressure center that's, you know, kind of hanging off the East Coast, you know, as of right now. But yes, the latest CFS V2 definitely kind of implies that as we hit the September 18th timeframe, that Tuesday and beyond, we'll be looking at probabilities of severe weather likely unfolding across the Texas Panhandle. You know, you're talking western areas of Oklahoma, western Kansas, you know, those areas across Nebraska, getting into the Dakotas. That is going to be your favored area for severe weather as we head into next week, as we'll be looking at the dry line starting to become really active again, with those dew points dropping low, pretty low across, you know, areas of Wyoming into Colorado. But if you live on the kind of the moist side, as we dip into the 60s, you can see the demarcation line and where things likely will be getting active in the heat of the afternoon. So we'll be looking at several rounds of severe storms, as yes, those fall-like temperatures will start impacting those areas across the west, and more summer-like conditions will be impacting those areas across the central and eastern two-thirds and the northern portions of the U.S. as we head into next week. But even the latest CSU guidance, Colorado State University guidance, long-range guidance, kind of hints at that, with the dry line getting active first, originating on that Tuesday, and then really doesn't go anywhere because you have light steering currents aloft. The same on Wednesday, and likely the same on Thursday. So you'll kind of have some of the same areas almost day after day getting impacted with severe storms, as you'll have the trough out west and the more ridging across the middle punch part of the country and the dry line. It's really not until likely sometime on Friday that cooler push gets a push from the upper levels of the atmosphere and likely starts to move across the central US with those cooler anomalies, more modified temperatures by then. But nonetheless, you would actually get a little bit of a dent and likely go back to average temperatures as we head into this weekend. But this is the setup by Wednesday. You can see that definitely the sharp gradient and temperatures across the central US and much of the West Coast. That's what spells trouble for that severe weather. And also we'll be looking at the remnants of whatever comes to the little low pressure center off the coast of the Carolinas. And this is around, September the 18th, September the 19th time frame, the middle of next week, We'll be watching more of that trough inversion still dipping down out west, bringing some of those cooler, rain, chillier air for, you know, Washington and Oregon and a good part of Nevada, and especially those areas across northern California. So if we take it out, you know, over the next 7 days, this is September the 12th through the 19th time frame. So where we are now and where we're going to be this time next Thursday, overall, those 7 days definitely appear to be below average for a good part of the West Coast, well above average across the central and northern portions of the U.S., and under the rain-cooled air and the remnants of Francine and the low pressure center off the Carolina coast will bring above average rains and cooler anomalies for the southeast. And overall, it kind of looks like this, right? You got the dry line. You got the drier setup across a good part of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. That's rainfall over the next 7 days, little to none across that region. And then the combination of Francine and the low pressure center that's highlighted across the west, you know, the East Coast there, will bring those well above average rains. You got the dry slot with the drier air coming in from the southwest. It's kind of moistening up for those areas that will be impacted across the Northeast with that trough that will be coming down. So you'll start to see more rains pick up back into this region as well over the next, 7 days. It's really not until this weekend or next weekend. It's till next weekend after the warm up, we'll finally get that a little bit of push in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Well, you'll start to get a little bit more troughing. This isn't until September the 21st, right? This would be, a good 9 days away from now, but you would cool back off again, but it doesn't look significant. It only appears to bring you more or less back to average of what temperatures are normally supposed to be, this time of year, as you'll have a little bit of rain showers, probably not severe with this stuff, that will be elongated, with that cool front that will push through Oklahoma and push through, portions of North Texas. But that, again, won't be until next weekend, some time frame. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update while I protect you before and after the storm.